This is a hard list to make because I have been PC gaming from the mid-90s DOS era. Tons of games have passed my eyes the past 25 years, but here are my 10 most memorable and favorite PC games. I've played every Splinter Cell up to date, but Blacklist is one of my favorites. Not only is it the most recent one with the best graphics, but it also retains more of the original gameplay that we saw in the first installments of the series, which was lost with Conviction. The game has two major strongholds, which are the single player and the multiplayer, that have worked out superb and are both highly enjoyable. Single player takes you on a rollercoaster storyline in which you can feel the pressure of time catching up to you, as you need to find the main terrorist Sadiq. I finished the single player several times because it's still a strong portion of the game. Then there's the multiplayer aspect. Get a friend to pick up a cheap copy. I got myself the special edition with the watch and all, and I can guarantee you will laugh, feel tension and excitement for hours in every match. Relying heavily on each other's tactics and skill set, this is something you need to play with a good friend in order to make it to the end. I, for one, cannot wait until Ubisoft announces the next installment in the series. Also known as the Nomad Soul in some other regions, this was Quantum Dream's first game, who are now better known for their successful titles like Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, Fahrenheit and their upcoming title Detroit Become Human. However, Omikron differs from those games in many ways. While those games play like an interactive novel, Omikron is more of an RPG. I would say that the best modern day resemblance might even be the two latest Deus Ex games. Omikron was a spectacular game for its time. With its open world and lots of places to go to, this was an immersive experience. You could go into buildings, talk to people on the streets and start investigations about the fact why you were killed. You do get killed at the start of the game, and you need to find your own killer. The game is best known for the fact that you can transport into other people and make use of their abilities to get what you want. This was so inviting that I went into every building I could find just to find the perfect host. Pretty creepy when I think about it now. My god, this game. I have so much anecdotes that I can throw at you, but let me keep it short and on track. I spent way too much hours of my life on this game, especially in multiplayer mode. Back in the early 2000s, internet as we know it these days was just starting with its unlimited bandwidth. Every evening shift after work, me and a friend / colleague of mine raced home and sat behind our PCs until the early morning playing this game. We'd sleep, get up, go to work and repeat the same routine for weeks after. Fun fact, if there's one thing I don't like, it's online multiplayer games. I am by far a single player gamer, but the sheer fun I have with Battlefield 2 and its ridiculous, unpredictable gameplay is something that cannot be denied. It is something that no Call of Duty game can ever come close to. With enhanced graphics above Battlefield 1942, stronger focus on online multiplayer, the community back then that made exciting free mods and add-ons, this was a complete game worth every dime spent. As a fan of the macabre at a young age, this game fascinated me immensely, as it did not shy away from unusual things like death, for instance. I will always remember this mid-90s era as something experimental and fascinating, because for starters I had to run this game in software mode when I got this, but later on I bought a Voodoo 2 graphics card, which upped the graphics. Games like these play like a visual novel. If you like reading, then you might like click and point adventures. They take patience and time, but are rewarding in the end if you stick with them. Added bonus for this game, if you like cynical humor then you'll like this game. Manny, the protagonist, cracked me up every time with his dialogue and fake Mexican accent. Luckily for the few who haven't played this game, there's a remastered version out, so if you dig these kind of games, I suggest you should check this game out. I never cared much for Max Payne 1. Its blocky graphics and back then toppling system requirements were things that kept me from playing it. Though I saw the game at a friend's house from time to time as he played it, I wasn't impressed. But when the sequel came out, this was one I had to try. I went to my local PC store, bought a new PC. Back then I was already working full time, so I could afford it, and this was the first thing I installed and ran. As this game sets a more grittier tone with a darker storyline, a detective noir setting, combined with a fatal love story, this was the game that I needed to play. No more shitting around, this game was absolutely off the charts with its fightings, famous bullet time and comic book cutscenes. Looking back though, this game hasn't aged very well, and the third installment in the series couldn't count on a royal reception by gamers, due to the change of setting and style. Which was a shame, because I loved the third one. Here's to Remedy and Rockstar hoping they will pump out a fourth one. We're talking way back in the days with this one. I was a young teenager, and mid-90s we swapped game CDs all over the schoolyard. So forth I came across this, back then unknown game from my classmate. At first I didn't get what the goal was. I was just racing around until I hit my first pedestrian by accident. From then on, I never looked back and started running everyone over with my fake Dodge Viper. Everyone remembers the soundbites like Kill Frenzy and Cop Killer, as they were so prominent like Armored Tournament with its soundbites. I guess it was some popular mid-90s thing. But the fact that you can do anything you want with some restrictions was an eye-opener for most of us. This game was also one of the games that spawned controversial gaming alongside Carmageddon and Mortal Kombat. Nowadays, kids would find this game laughable for its violence at most. Some might say, "Are you crazy? How can you choose Tiberian Sun over Red Alert?" Simple, I prefer the post-apocalyptic approach above the cartoony atmosphere of Red Alert. Even more, the design of the units suit me, as they resemble advanced technological robots, better than Red Alert, which had a more 1950s look. Alas, there are more reasons that I prefer Tiberian Sun. One reason might be the outstanding soundtrack by Frank Caplecki, which still holds up with its electronic synthesizer beats and sound effect samples. The second reason is that the FMVs are still crazy as hell, with the overacting and blue screen still intact as ever. But the main star of the show was the excellent tactical system that the series was known for, but since then has perished under the new strategy course of EA. I fear we might never have a good Command & Conquer game again, as EA shows no sign of interest of reviving this beloved franchise. I reckon fans would rage out if this game was filled with loot chests, microtransactions and last minute torn out DLC. Battlefield 1942 was one of the first games in which our household needed a PC upgrade. Luckily, my younger brother had a job back then, and with his hard-earned cash, he bought a fresh Pentium 4 PC with a whopping 64MB GPU card installed. The one thing that I fondly remember was that I sneaked into his bedroom every morning at 6 AM and started playing this game like crazy until he would wake up mad and chase me out of his room. So much for the anecdote, but this game had some legendary maps like Wake Island, Berlin and Omaha Beach. Back then, the internet as we know it wasn't that common, and I mainly played against AI generated bots, but man, even that was exciting in those days. SWAT 2 is one of the more realistic tactical police simulators. Sure, it looks absurdly dated, but beneath that rugged old carpet lies insane depth, tactical decision making and an unknown AI factor that kept on changing, inspired on real life past events like the 90s LA riots or Waco siege. If you played the game as much as I did, you could easily scope out the enemies generated AI movements, as each chapter had like 3 to 4 different ones that were preloaded in the beginning. But not knowing if you would have to pull the trigger in battle was a rush of excitement. The fact that you could talk every hostage out and arrest every bad guy was an even bigger rush. Add the fact that every mission could earn you extra cash to spend on your crew to upgrade their gear, and you might say it even has some RPG elements in it. What's even better is the fact that all the images in the game came in BMP files onto your C drive. I had the greatest time replacing the mugshots of police officers with my own doodles. Seeing the Ridley Scott movie when I was just a little kid, I instantly became a fan of the cyberpunk world that the movie established, which since then has been copied into other games and movies. The game is a detective noir click and point adventure in the style of the old 90s LucasArts games, but with its own dark cyberpunk twist. I remember renting this big PC box game from my local library, and years later I bought the special edition. This game also ties in closer to the book than the movie in my opinion, as it follows the actual passages instead of trying to cram it into a 2-hour visual fest. The best thing about this game was that it had me thinking, just like the novel, again about humanity, where we stand as it is, and the dividing line between the creation of our alter image and what its purpose in all will be. The ending especially made me depressed, as it left me unfulfilled and wanting more. It's a good thing we can always rely on our imagination for that. There are so many other games that didn't make the list, but are still one of my favorites, like Broken Sword, Command & Conquer Generals, Age of Empires and Homeworld. Did you like this video and want more of these? Check out the other videos on my channel, which are all gaming related. Other top 10 lists are upcoming, so hit that red button so you won't miss them.